Having me. So I'm Kate Freeman from the Healthy Eating Hub, and so I'm just going to talk about how all three different elements of brand, I guess, apply to my brand and how I've changed it over the last couple of months. So I'm a registered nutritionist and personally specialise in weight loss, just general healthy eating, and also family nutrition and a bit of sports nutrition as well. And one of the things I'm really passionate about is demystifying nutrition and making it simple, because in my field you don't have to be qualified to have an opinion or publish an opinion or even sell a product. So I'm competing against people who have tried a diet, found it successful and decided to start a business out of it, compared to my couple of degrees and things like that. So I really wanted to, in my brand, differentiate myself in a very specific way, because it was important that I wasn't lumped in with the fad diets and with this program or that program. So I guess I'm just going to talk a little bit about my process with that. So to give you some background, the business officially started in terms of registering a business name and everything like that about 3 years ago, so I'm about to complete my third financial year in business. But it's been a hobby for a long time. So the Healthy Eating Hub was birthed at the beginning of this year, officially, but before that was just Kate Freeman Nutrition, so original, because it started as a healthy eating blog back in 2008 when I was on maternity leave from the public service. The public service killed my soul, and I was happy to leave and have a baby, and I thought to myself, I actually don't want to go back here. I'd love to go back into nutrition, which was what I originally studied. But at that time, I had the baby. But she was the most easiest baby in the world, and I was bored out of my mind. So I was like looking for things to do. So I started this blog and started writing. And then I think it was about 6 to 8 months later, I made a number of good connections. Amanda from Canberra was one of those. And back then she was just starting as well, and I thought to myself, and I still remember this one statement, I was like, oh, she might hit it big time, and if I can sort of tag along with her, it might be a good thing. As it turns out, one of the best decisions I've made. But I guess the blog grew really well. It turns out I did have a knack for writing. I never really considered myself a writer before. Turns out I'm not too bad at it. And so as that sort of grew and the readership grew and more connections grew, people started wanting private consultations and seeking my advice. And I just kind of took the work as it came. And it's basically, it just evolved. So it came to the point where I'm now moving out of my home. I'm getting an office in the city. I now need another practitioner to help me take the work on. But as far as this, the brand was just me and who I was and just how it had evolved. I was passionate about nutrition. I always wanted to have a private practice. But it wasn't until at the end of last year where I actually thought, I actually have no idea what defines this business or what is shaping it and where I want to go. It had just sort of evolved that way. So I guess I just hadn't articulated the part of things, and it got to the point where I was wanting it to grow, but it was starting to sort of plateau off a bit, and I knew it was because I didn't really know where to go next or what to do next. So I felt like the brand wasn't working anymore. The brand was essentially me, and I guess the major problem with that is that I couldn't separate myself from the brand. And Candace from Lighthouse helped me a lot at the end of last year, and she would give me these tasks to do, like go and do a brainstorm and really think about your business and who you are and where you want to go and your target audience, right? And so I go away and spend hours on this and then go back like a high school student, really proud of my amazing essay that I'd done. And she'd like pull it apart and I'd be like, oh, I did it wrong. But she's like, Kate, you didn't tell me what your business was. You told me what the CEO of your business does, and that's you. But what is your business? And so I really realised, I was like, I have no idea what the difference is between me and my business. And so that's why changing the brand was a really important step for me. And I think so far, today, it's one of the best decisions that I've made. The other problem that I had with Kate Freeman Nutrition was the second nutritionist that I brought on at the beginning of last year. Obviously, her name's not Kate Freeman, and of course people coming to my website and finding me through her Canberra and a number of other businesses that I would represent or do some work for, they all just wanted to see me. So her work was quite sporadic and I couldn't build up her book because no one wanted to see her, they wanted to see me. And I realised that if I wanted to be able to grow and actually genuinely build a team of really good practitioners and a successful private practice, that it couldn't just be about me anymore. I also got tired of saying my name in the third person all the time. Oh, Kate Freeman Nutrition. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is doing my head in. I don't want to talk about myself all the time. So I thought it needed a fresh name. It needed to be something different. The other thing is that I'm not the type of business like Jenny Craig or other style health programs or weight loss programs. I'm not that. I'm a nutritionist, and I have dietitians who also work for me. So we, are highly qualified professionals, not just sort of a program, if that makes sense. So a lot of dietitians or nutritionists who practice, their businesses are called their name. Da-da-da, dietitian, da-da-da, nutritionist, which is what I had done. So I thought, you know what, that's a little bit clinical and a little bit boring, and to sort of set myself out amongst from those people, I wanted it to give it a name that kind of made us a bit trendy, fresh, really new, but the same level of credibility and professionalism that we're highly qualified postgraduate qualified people that can help you with very complex medical nutrition cases and genuinely help you from an individualised perspective, because we're qualified to do that, rather than just sort of, you pay us a weekly fee and we hand you a program that just applies to everybody. So that, I guess, comes into the strategy part of branding. So one of the things was coming up with the new name, and thinking about, that made me think about who I wanted to be. And essentially, I believe that healthy eating applies to everyone, no matter what your age, no matter what your lifestyle, no matter what your medical condition. A healthy diet, rich in fruits and vegetables and good quality foods, and just small amounts of discretionary foods, as the as we would call them, and alcohol and all the things that taste amazing. But small amounts of those foods means that we have, that applies to someone with diabetes, that applies to someone with heart disease, that applies to someone who wants to lose weight, that applies to a mum introducing solids to her baby, that applies to managing a fussy toddler, that applies to someone who's exercising and wants to get the most. So healthy eating applies to everyone, but it looks different for everybody. You can't just go out and say, don't eat carbs after 4 p.m. and potatoes make you fat and blah, 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 because, well, you can't just blanket everyone in one nutrition message. Nutrition is highly individualised and healthy eating looks different to everybody. So I just decided that healthy eating is at the centre of everything that we do as a business. So we came up with the Healthy Eating Hub. Oh, I forgot I had slides. Sorry. Normally I'm talking about food when I present, not about business, so I feel out of my comfort zone. This is the old logo that my brother-in-law, God love him, did for me. So when we decided we wanted the Healthy Eating Hub at the centre of everything we do, I knew I wanted a circle and a hub, healthy eating being at the centre. But I'm a little bit, I guess, what's the word? Sentimental. So we kept the apple, which was in my original logo, and so we now have the Healthy Eating Hub. And the reason I picked Hub rather than the Healthy Eating Centre or the Healthy Eating Practice or something like that was because I don't believe that the traditional dietetic model works awesome, like sitting in an office and chatting about food. I am developing a pathway that I think works better than the traditional one, but I think it can go a step further. And so my long-term goal with the hub is to not just be a consultation thing, but to really be innovative and completely revolutionise the way dietetics and nutrition works in terms of practical consultations and having actual food and real kitchens, and actually teach people how to eat well. It's one thing to give them information, but if we can show them and they can try and taste and test and get a feel for it, that's what I want. So I wanted it to be a hub because I want people to come to the hub and be connected to restaurants, schools, different things that all offer part of healthy eating, because essentially food is in every area of our life. So that's why we picked hub. So that was really part of the strategy. So I guess, you know, in terms of picking your business name and all of that, thinking about that and having it all tie in is really nice. I guess the other thing is we also, with the consistency in the brand, meant that we wanted to have a URL and register the business name and the Facebook and all of those things as consistent as possible, so you have to make sure that they're all available, because I think there's nothing worse than having a URL that looks nothing like your business name, or it's just hard to find. So we had to make sure that all of that was available, and lucky for us, it was. So in terms of actually strategizing our brand a little bit more, it was Candace that taught me a lot that yes, a brand is much more than just your look. And so our brand as university qualified nutritionists and dietitians is that we believe in evidence-based approach to healthy eating. So we don't offer a one-size-fits-all solution. Our healthy eating advice is tailored to each individual, showing practically how healthy eating applies to them and their lifestyle. So we don't offer quick fixes, fad diets, detox, or just sort of blanket programs that eliminates food groups or severely restricts dietary intake. We are genuinely interested in teaching people how to eat well long term. So we want to teach people how to lose weight or improve their health in the same way that they then intend on maintaining those results. So any kind of future programs that we will do or online things that we will do, which are things that I want to get into, that might be a kind of one-size-fits-all program, they'll be around lifestyle and they will still have individual elements that can be tailored to each person. I need to breathe. So our advice is applied through a habit building program. So we encourage people currently through our consultation program to commit to seeing us a couple of times, whereas traditionally the dietetics model is you go to the doctor, they tell you you've got high cholesterol, you need to go and see the dietitian. You go to the dietitian, they hand you a fact sheet on how to reduce your cholesterol and cut out all of the saturated fat out of your diet, and you walk away and you think, oh, how boring is that and how do I do that, and it's all too hard, and then you don't do it. So what we want to do is actually get people who have a goal in mind and genuinely help them achieve that through little baby steps, and that's a part of our brand. So people know you don't just come to the hub for one appointment and then we'll hand you some info and see you later. We genuinely want to help you. Okay, how's your morning routine? How can we help you have breakfast? Here's some strategies to do here. Why don't you try that for the next 2 weeks, then I want you to come back and we'll work on the next thing. So we're results-based in that we want to see people improve, but not to the point where they're like, oh, if I get on the scales and I haven't lost weight this week, I don't want to go back and see my nutritionist. We're more interested in people learning the skills, because they'll lose weight or they'll drop their cholesterol. That'll all happen eventually if they can actually establish good habits. So we do that through a consultation pathway that I've developed, and then I get all of my practitioners to follow. And we're going to be building on that more and more. So I guess in terms of more aesthetics with the brand, oh, I'm going backwards. So this is our website, just this snippet of the top half of it anyway. So we wanted it to be really fresh and crisp and professional. I've done lots of research of other style practices in Canberra, and ours is the best. And I'm really keen to get things to, to look good. One of the frustrating things, as I'm sure you're all aware of, is when you have a small business, you don't have as much money, but yet we are competing with massive companies that have stackloads of money to make things look awesome. And I hate not looking awesome. I want to look, I want things to look good. I want things to look impressive and not crappy. So it is possible, I think, on a budget to do it. I think you just have to be really smart and be really clear about what you want and the image that you're going for. That way you're then not wasting time and money sort of trial and erroring, I guess. So yeah, so this is the website. It's really fresh and crisp and clean. And then I just got an example of a flyer. I feel bad showing this in front of the graphic designers because I did this. Because back then I couldn't afford a graphic designer, and so I've pretty much done most things myself, my website and everything, which I've now handed on. I now have a graphic designer and a web developer, which is good because it takes lots of time. But we were trying to get that whole image of fresh, crisp, professional is the look that we're going for. One of my personal hates is particularly in the nutrition and healthy eating industry is using a very beautiful woman, hardly dressed, lifting weights. And she looks incredible, but that's because, you know, anyone can look incredible if you've got awesome lights and you haven't eaten for a couple of days and, you know, they've taken a photo and then photoshopped it. I'm not into appealing to people wanting to look like that. I'm appealing to people who want to eat well long term. So we're not going to go, that's not going to be our image. I never want to see a half-naked woman on my website or on my social media, and all of my practitioners know that when we're talking about healthy eating. Yeah, people want to look good and that's fine, but I don't want it to be this calling point of, you know, this particular image of this particular woman, which is what everybody uses. So that's how we're actually going to set ourselves apart in that way. And I guess to finish off in terms of brand voice, this has probably been the most challenging thing, because before, when it was just me, I was my brand voice, so it was just what my personality was. So now, being the Healthy Eating Hub and having other practitioners, I've toned myself down a little bit more in terms of not being so like effervescent. Mind you, I've noticed on social media that the Healthy Eating Hub page has only got maybe 3/4 of the followers, but it doesn't get anywhere near as engagement as my Kate Freeman Nutrition one does. And I think it is because of the personality. So I've now actually thought, maybe I need to ramp up the hub a bit because I'm a bit boring over there. But I guess that's just a trial and error thing too, that you can kind of figure out. So, but I guess our personality is definitely practical. So we want to show people and have actual advice that they can apply. We want it to be simple, none of this complicated nutrition stuff. Nutrition is complicated enough, even I get confused. And we want it to be a little bit fun and engaging. We want it to be food-based, so we won't be plugging brands or supplements or stuff like that. We're just about food. We're not about, you know, trying to plug certain things. And we're not focused on body image in that traditional, you know, sex appeal sell at all either. And just a tiny little plug from me, I'm trialling something tonight called Healthy Chat online, where we're opening up our Facebook page for half an hour. All of my whole team, so there's 4 of us now, 2 nutritionists, 2 dietitians, and we also have 2 interns. We're all going to be cramped into our little office all together and post a question on our wall to get it started, and we'll answer you straight away. So just about, in terms of the voice, what Amanda was saying, you know, being available to engage, and I think people like that, to be able to talk to you. So we're just going to trial this and see if people are keen to ask a question, if that's something that people want. So if you're online at 8 p.m. tonight, Healthy Eating Hub on Facebook, feel free to ask a question. And we're just going to trial that. But that's, you know, different things that we're sort of looking at doing in terms of brand voice as well. So, yes, that's it from me.